The piece will be accompanied by the reading of two articles written by Daniel Pearl, both originally published in the Wall Street Journal and later published in the book entitled Stories from My Favorite Planet. The first article, Tears from Kosovo, will be read by Joseph Kirpywhite, and the second, Missing Violin Tango, will be read by Mieko Hillman.
Ladies and gentlemen, Russell Steinberg and the Los Angeles Youth Orchestra.
Wall Street Journal, December 2nd, 1999. Reporter's notebook, search for mercy ends in tears on quiet Kosovo street. Kosovo, Yugoslavia. President Clinton came to Kosovo last week pleading for a little ethnic reconciliation. This reminded me of my first trip here in June when I searched in vain for a story about ethnic Albanians and Serbs moving beyond their hatred. In my search for a pocket of ethnic harmony, I tried the new soccer team. No Serbs. A once mixed jazz band. No gigs. Even a mental hospital. There, ethnic Albanian nurses told me the Serb staff had fled, told the patients to leave too, and taken the telephones. Only one encounter seemed to offer any hope for Serbs and Albanians living together. It took place on a quiet residential street, and last week, on a return trip to Kosovo, I decided to see if the story had a happy ending. In the third house on the right lived Rade Volic, a 70-year-old ex-railroad worker. Rade is a Serb. Next door lived Hamid Fazliu, 68 years old, a retired mill worker, an ethnic Albanian. He and Mr. Volic, neighbors for 30 years, worked to stay friends, even as an Albanian guerrilla war for independence and a Serbian ethnic cleansing campaign began. On March 27th, soon after the NATO bombing began, Serb vigilantes shot up Hamid's house while he cowered on the living room couch. Rade says he persuaded the vandals not to burn the house. Hamid spent the night at Rade's house, then left Kosovo. In their own tidy home, Rade and his wife showed me a letter their neighbor had written while taking shelter with them. What will happen, nobody knows, but let this be proof that Rade is a good man and his wife, and I'm very thankful. It read, still, Rade and his wife weren't sure they would stay. All around, neighbors were pooling their money to rent trucks to move to Serbia proper. That was 4 months ago. There are few mixed neighborhoods left. I visited Hamid first. He now had furniture, a television, new cabinets. He said he had made the rounds of neighbors at first, telling how Rade had helped him. But lately, he was asking Rade not to speak with him on the street. Some of my relatives don't understand, he said, especially the ones who had immediate family members killed. Next door, Rade and his wife greeted me warmly and asked if I could help them determine if the German mark notes they were about to receive for their house were real. They had gone with one of the many Albanians who knocked on their door asking to buy the place. They were tired of rocks being thrown through a window, and they were moving in 4 days' time to live near their daughter and son in Belgrade. It was a tearful moment. Rade and his wife had built the house thinking their children would live there. I wished them luck and said goodbye. My driver was across the street. I was worried. I thought maybe those Serbs killed you, he said. And then, the people who bought this place are crazy. They could have it for free. The Serbs are going to have to leave anyhow. Thank you, Agim, I said as we rolled toward Pristina. Thank you for reminding me that I'm in the Balkans.
Wall Street Journal, October 17, 1994. Missing violins case. The finder fiddles while losers sue. Alcantara Stradivarius, lost 27 years ago, resurfaces, but new owner plays coy. Los Angeles. David Merget still doesn't know if he left the borrowed Stradivarius on the roof of his car and drove off, or if it was stolen from the unlocked vehicle while he bought groceries. That was August 1967. Mr. Margetts sent notices to pawn shops and violin stores and took out classified ads. He spent the next 27 years worrying that the Duke of Alcantara Stradivarius, made in 1732, was gone forever. It wasn't. Officials of UCLA, to which the instrument had been donated, say the same violin reappeared this January. But the tale doesn't end there. University officials have discovered that once someone is smitten with the love of a Stradivarius, taking it away is like wresting a baby from its mother's arms. Joseph Grubal, a violin dealer in Petaluma, California, says when a violin teacher showed him a student's instrument bearing a Stradivarius label one day in January, he thought he was looking at the real thing. He opened his copy of the iconography of Antonio Stradivari and found a photograph of a violin with similar scratch marks on the back. It was the Duke of Alcantara. A bigger shock came a week later when the violin teacher picked up the repaired fiddle. Mr. Grubal flipped through a violin registry and saw the instrument listed as stolen from UCLA. The student was amateur violinist Teresa Savato, who says she got the violin as part of a divorce settlement last year. She says her husband received the violin around 1979 from his aunt, who helped run a music store. Where the aunt got the violin isn't known, Miss Savato says, but one piece of family lore had her picking it up beside a freeway on-ramp after mistaking the canvas-covered case for a baby. Miss Savato contacted UCLA, but over the next 10 months declined the university's pleas to surrender the violin. Also, Miss Savato didn't appreciate the unannounced visit to her home in May by two campus police officers who she says threatened to arrest her and told her neighbors she was a theft suspect. When they reappeared last week to serve civil court papers, Miss Savato wouldn't leave her locked car. She now is staying in a hotel, and the Alcantara is in hiding. Miss Savato played her mystery violin for the first time in January. It was heavenly, she says, smooth and gorgeous. It even helped her play in tune. There are things I can't do on the violin, but I can execute them on that violin, she said. During a recent telephone conversation with Robert Portillo, a music curator for UCLA, Miss Savato asked if less accomplished musicians might be allowed to play the violin. And she wondered if there's any possible legal way I could keep it. Miss Savato insists she only wants what is right for the instrument. The university lost it once, she says. They're really not careful. Mr. Portillo, who complains that Miss Savato is taking the university for a ride, says UCLA will be extremely mindful of the instrument if it is returned. One faculty member who is likely to play it is Alexander Traeger, concertmaster of the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, who already plays an orchestra-owned 1711 Stradivarius. On tour, Mr. Traeger says, "I don't leave the violin even if I have to go to the bathroom."